Welcome to the VT Show, a weekly online series featuring Vineyard artists sharing conversation, insight, and performance. Please welcome Douglas Abel and Sarah Stern.
Hello, and welcome to the VT Show. I'm Sarah Stern.
And I'm Doug Abel, and we're the artistic directors of the Vineyard Theatre. We're so pleased to be back with everyone this week and to welcome a very special guest host for this episode, the incredibly talented director, Whitney White. Whitney was a recipient in 2018 of the Vineyard Susan Stroman Directing Award and has been a director in residence at the Vineyard since then, working on many new projects. She's been directing all over New York and the country, in fact, and was recently nominated for an Antonio Award for her staging of Alexis Shear's Our Dear Dead Drug Lord. We've been speaking with Whitney about her hosting a series of one-on-one artist-to-artist conversations as part of the VT Show. And today is the first one, and we're really excited about it. And we hope to have her back for more conversations later this summer and fall.
Joining Whitney in conversation today is the wonderful and gifted playwright and actor Ngozi Anyanwu. Ngozi wrote and starred in the beautiful, deeply moving play, Good Grief, which the Vineyard produced in 2018, directed by Owoye Timpo. Ngozi's play, The Homecoming Queen, had a sold-out run before that, and she's currently working on several projects in theater and television. We truly love working with these two artists, and we are very excited that they will be in conversation with one another today. So without further ado, please welcome our first VT Show guest host, Whitney White.
Hey, what's up? Thank you for that introduction. It was really sweet. And hello to everyone out there hanging out with me for the next hour or so. I just wanted to give the glow up to Ngozi before I introduce her. Come on down. We get to hang out for a bit. I'm so excited.
Yes, hi.
Oh, what's up? And also before we get into it, I just want to say to everyone watching, please send questions, because we're going to leave questions at the end. It's like my favorite part of these weird Zoom things is actually we get to interact a little bit. So we're going to talk a little bit and then send us some questions and we'll answer them, okay? Hey, Ngozi, what's up?
Hi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I mean, first of all, really, how are you? Tell me how you are and where are you? You know, tell us where you're calling in from and how you're doing today.
I am calling in from LA. Today's a good day. Today I woke up good. Yesterday was a super heavy day.
Mm-hmm.
A super gloomy day. And today I was like, okay, we're just gonna get up, do this thing, go running, make a smoothie.
Get that smoothie, girl. Get this.
Make a smoothie, attempt a way forward.
Yeah.
And just attempt, So today was okay, I feel good, knowing that this can change in an hour or so. But today was I feel good.
Well,
I gave a morning talk to students, which also kind of reminded me why I'm doing this and why I'm in the arts, talking to them. So that was a good motivator.
That's so dope. And how are your students doing? I mean, it's funny. It's so many of these conversations, we're all talking about how we're reeling from years being dark, but it's really hard to imagine how it is for young people right now. Their lives are on hold. How were they?
I mean, they weren't my students. They were a friend of mine, Brad Fleischer, also teaches acting, and so I was sort of a guest sort of speaker for him. And they're trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure out how do I make art? They're having those real existential questions of does it matter? Is it powerful? Is it impactful? We're going through a really hard time right now, in the arts, but also as a country. And they're questioning kind of what's the point of it all and the move forward. And I think that it's important that they're asking these questions, but it's one of those questions I think we're all asking ourselves at the moment of how do we do this now? Why do we do this now?
Why are we doing it and how? Yeah. How do we move forward? Mm-hmm. It's funny you said that. I was talking to someone today, another theater arts professional, and I don't know, I feel like when we are all able to start again, that might be even more traumatic and difficult than stopping. It's now we're getting to the point, it's how do we all start and make space for everybody's needs in this really challenging time? It's really hard.
Yeah.
Well, tell me more about just everything. It's funny. I know so much about your work and you're multi-hyphenate, which is so dope and inspiring to someone like me. But tell me more about how you even got into this whole theater bag at all. Will you tell me more about your trajectory from the beginning to now, if you don't mind?
The outlines.
Mhm.
So I'm from outside of Philly, suburbs, Bucks County, Pennsylvania. Really sort of fell in love with theater around like high school age, was in sort of like, was like a athlete, was kind of the bench warmer in every sport. And was kind of on the periphery looking at the musicals and the plays and being like, how can I get in there? And I was basically this sort of really enthusiastic ensemble member in high school. I was like the loud girl who had like one or two lines, and I was like,
Mhm.
lines, dog. I'm gonna kill those one or two lines. And for whatever reason, I had the audacity to, go to school for theater, because usually it's like, when you're the star of your high school and you're doing all the plays and you're doing all the musicals and you're the lead, you're like, all right, time for me to share my gifts with the world. And I'm kind of like, well, I like this thing, so I think I want to do it, and I don't feel good at anything else, and this school's approaching me for it, so I guess I'll do it, I guess, and I was writing time as well. And then in undergrad, I was also writing and creating, kind of producing our own self projects while doing our own conservatory projects, And in the middle of undergrad for theater at a conservatory program, that's actually when I got serious about it, right? Because I feel like conservatories were they'll kind of test your resolve, like
Yes.
so intensely into it where you're like, maybe this isn't for me if this is what it is. And I was kind of like, oh, maybe this is for me. And then I kind of moved to New York in like 2004, 2005, and kind of fiddled around, would do a play here and there, would make something here and there. In between, I would intern at theaters, like I couldn't get a job as an actor to save my life at a certain point. So I had a survival job as a personal trainer. And I was like, I still want to be around theater. I still want to be around it. So I took like an internship at the public theater. I was Jesse Alex intern, artistic assistant.
Can we give a shout out to Jesse Alec? Jesse Alec is one of the most brilliant dramaturgs and writers and thinkers, and has also been such an inspiring and very galvanizing force in my professional career. So toot toot beep beep to Jesse Alec. Jesse Alec works with the public theater. Is just brilliant. Yeah.
So I was his assistant when he was Oscar's assistant.
Okay.
And there I really got to just kind of see the inner workings of just like, like they do so much there, and so I just kind of got to sit in artistic meetings. Mm-hmm. I got to watch rehearsals. I got to be a reader for some rehearsals for I'd be like the person like in the background, like, calling out line, helping them call out line. I think I got fired from that job because I was so engrossed in watching the play. I was like, oh fuck, I lost pages. Mm-hmm. So I got really kind of intense into act, like really and then it made me miss acting because I was interning everywhere. I was a Rattlestick reader for plays, I was reading for plays, I was interning here, interning there, and I wasn't acting again. And so I went back to grad school for acting. So I went back to UCSD.
I did not know that. Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
Yeah, so I went to UCSD as an actor. Because I was like, oh, I'm not acting and I'm so in love with it. And I've just been interning and hanging out and like making some stuff and creating some stuff. We created First Generation Nigerian Project right before I went to grad school. And then I was like, well, let me see if I can get into a grad school. Ended up at UCSD.
Wow.
My third year at grad school as an actor, I wrote my first play, Good Grief.
Wow.
And did my first reading there, like at the school with classmates. And, UCSD is a very small acting program. It's 8 actors, 1 playwright, 1 director, and some designers. So it's a really small program per year. And I was really encouraged. I have really great friends who were really talented playwrights. So I would read the play in front of them and be like, is this a thing? And Jeff Augustine at the time and David Jacoby, who also were playwrights there, were very encouraging, but it was hard because my grad school playwrights was like Lauren Yee was our like,
oh, she's fierce,
right? So you're just like, it's not as good as Lauren Yee play, so this is not worth anything, because my standards were kind of up there as far as playwrights, and but they were all very encouraging. They were kind of like, oh yeah, write it, go, whatever, it's not that deep, go. And so even in the middle of doing acting showcase, my sister Chi-Chi, shout out to Chi-Chi.
Shout out to Chi-Chi, incredible woman, just started her own company. She's an amazing force behind getting Black audiences to plays all across New York. She's incredible. So yeah, shout out to your sister.
Yeah, and so she was even like, I was doing showcase, still lamenting about not getting like a super duper response. And she was like, well, I'm casting your reading for Good Grief next week. So I was like, I did my acting showcase, and then we were producing a reading of my play like the very next week. So I kind of always was, I was juggling two bags as always to like make my own work and audition, make my work and audition. And then, you know, I moved to LA and moved back to New York, had booked a show. I had worked on The Deuce first season as a recurring. And in the middle of that, I was also a producer. Again, I went back to my internship roots, was interning at National Black Theater. Shout out to Jonathan McCrory.
Oh my gosh, Jonathan, we love you so much. He's been, you know, we're all caught in this moment right now. And Jonathan has been doing so much community organizing and wonderful producing and supporting Black work from jump. So big shout out to him. He's incredible.
Yeah. Jonathan really embraced me because I had also produced, me, my sister, my friend Clinton Lowe, my classmate, Matt McNally, and my other friend, Herb Newsome, had self-produced a version of Good Grief while I was, again, interning. I was like, whenever I'm not acting, I want to be in the theater, right? And so I was hanging out with Lou Moreno at Intar, a theater company, and he was like, what do you want to do here? Like, and I was like, well, I have this play. And he's like, great. Well, you have July. Make sure it's a short play because we have no air conditioning. That was kind of like his parameters. And we basically self-produced as a group, casted, auditioned it, fundraised, kickstarted it, and produced like a 4-day showing of Good Grief. And that was like 2014. And we just kind of did it ourselves. And that was kind of, and we had a really great response from our community.
Yeah.
And then that's where Jonathan was like, hey, come over here and be a producing intern. And in the middle of all that, I was like still turning into play, still hustling that play, still auditioning, still whatever. And then I won this thing called the Humanitas Award, which is mostly like a film and TV award for like writing that illuminates the human experience or the human And so I turned in that play from like literally a Facebook post. Joy Meads turned in a Facebook post, and I was in between New York and LA. I was like, hey, for LA playwrights, this is a contest, no essay, no fee, no whatever, just turn in the play, blind submission. And then I literally get like a call one day in December being like, hey, you won this. I was like I remember I was in NBT, and he was like, what happened to that thing you were in the top 10 finalists for? I'm like, I don't know, I hope I get in the top 3 because I have no idea how I'm gonna pay my rent next month. Literally just saying that. And then like phone call, that. And that was kind of the beginning of like what is kind of like now known as like my career.
Yeah.
Because CTG had sponsored the award that year. They had sponsored this really great reading series, reading that we had done in LA, and then they had ended up producing the play. Mm-hmm. And so LA, CTG had done the world premiere of the play with Patricia McGregor directing it. Shout out to Patricia McGregor.
Yes. And I read the script, I remember, after that, and I was just so, and it's funny, that was before I found my feet as a theater maker too. And I remember reading that script early on and just being so amazed by the kind of magical world in there and this portrait of Black femininity that was so contemporary and fresh and light and full of just a lot of beauty. And then when I found out that you were going to be in it, it was just very inspiring. And even hearing your story now, it's like there's so many pivots in your story I didn't even think about. And I wanted to ask that question because I think we're in this time where like we are all pivoting.
Yeah.
For real. We've all got to like pause and pivot, and like your students are wondering, why are we doing this? What are we doing it for? And do we even need to do it? And hearing someone like you, a Black artist like yourself, talk about, oh, well, I decided to go back to school and then I got back to producing, and just the many points at which one can reevaluate things in their artistic or theatrical careers, like incredibly inspiring to me. So yeah, it's dope. But tell me more. So then CTG happened, and she directed it, and then what happened? Tell me more.
So CTG happens in the middle of CTG agreeing to do the play. There was still like the question of, because like even the showcase for that reading at CTG was really lovely, really inspiring. It was a different group of actors because it was in LA, and I was in between New York and LA. And so it was like gathering another group of, but I had a community because I went to school in California. So we had done that reading, and then it almost felt like showcase again, right? Like, you know, as someone who wasn't experienced as like in the playwright hustle of it all, I was mostly experienced in the acting hustle of it all. Yeah. It's like acting showcase where you do this thing, everyone comes, and then Is anyone doing the play? Like, now what? Like, you know what I mean? Like, am I famous yet? What's happening?
Yeah.
And they had done the reading and then kind of nothing happened. And so in the middle of that, it was also hustling, like trying to get a writing agent and doing all those things. And so in the middle of all those meetings, you know, I sort of like came across CAA because, you know, because of the lovely artistic community, you know, and really like never underestimate the power of Facebook, because literally I have my career because I have CAA because of Facebook, and I have my award because of Facebook. Like, so also like never underestimate the devil that is social media, but also, you know, the opportunities and things like that, that if you are sort of keeping your ear to the ground, they're just like, okay, submit and release, you know? And so I had sort of fallen in with CAA. Shout out to Olivier, the homie, my agent, my homie, so many agents, but he's the, you know, he's the grand poobah. And so, you know, I sort of fell in with Olivier, and Olivier was really, and when I was having different meetings, what really sort of came apparent with him, and I think why we sort of gelled together, is that he, and all I had at that point written was Good Grief.
Yeah.
Right? And anything else. And so a lot of the meetings were like, you're great. What else do you have? I was like, I'm thinking about this and I don't know. And everyone's like, love the play, really cool. Let us know when a theater wants to do it. We don't sign someone off of a play. And I was like, that makes complete sense. So I thought all my meetings were going to go like that. And he was very much like, well, what else are you working on? So I was like, Harry, here are things I'm thinking about. He's like, cool, go do those, you know? And I was like, okay, great. Here's another person who's like, and then like 5 minutes later, he was like, yeah, let's have another meeting. And the next meeting was like, okay, Ngozi is an actor and she's a writer and she does this, and how are we going to take care of her all fields? By the way, we've started. Are we together? You know? And he made me want to do homework. Like, he made me want to go out and finish the next play. So I'm pretty sure like after our second meeting, like I started writing The Homecoming Queen.
That's dope.
Because he was like a motivator of like, I think it's going to happen. I feel pretty confident it's going to happen for you. Whatever that happen is, you should probably get to it. Whatever those ideas that you're talking about, get to it. And so, and then another playwright friend of mine, Mfani Sodofia, who was like, this is a really beautiful play. They're going to expect a second play. If you have one, you should write it. So I got really great advice of like, if you got other stuff,
keep making more.
Keep making more stuff. Yeah.
That's really interesting, because it's funny when you start to dabble in the film world, it's interesting how like a first-time filmmaker is treated versus a first-time theater maker. Mm-hmm. Very, very different. Theater is hard. Like, it's a really demanding discipline, and people expect so much of you. Mm-hmm. You demonstrate so much just to get the first job and then the second job. But that's something I definitely noticed, like how first-time filmmakers are kind of welcomed in versus like, this is my first play, do it. And sometimes the barriers can seem very, very high for theater, actually.
You know, and I was very much also told at some of those agency meetings, like, no one's going to do your first play, which is also why you need to write other plays, because this is a really cool play, but it's essentially it's a calling card. No one's going to do it. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, this is what I got. I don't know how long it's going to take me to write that other play, because it's been 3 or 4 years now, and this is the play that I really love and like, and but like, it was kind of that person who was like, no, someone's going to do this play, but just write another play, because you should write other plays.
Well, can we talk about that play? Because it's so beautiful. And for everyone watching, I hope you got a chance to see it when it was in New York. Owoye Tempo directed such a beautiful production. And Good Grief is just such, you know, we're talking a lot about business and how we got here, but as a piece of art, it's just aesthetically kind of gorgeous. And maybe actually before we hear you talk a little bit more, I'd love to show the trailer. It's when we were working on our Zoom tech for today, and we showed the trailer, and it literally brought me to tears. It made me miss doing theater so much. So is it okay if can we show that clip of the trailer, please? I love that. It's beautiful. I'm like,
Oh, I miss them. I miss them.
I know. Can you hear me still?
Lost you.
There we go.
Okay, we're good.
Okay, there we go. Tell me about that. I love asking people what you miss. What do you miss about that production in this time, and how has your kind of your memory of doing this production changed in light of what we're all going through?
I mean, for me, it's like, it's the gathering. It's the kind of, that was a really special, I mean, every incarnation of doing that show has been really special. I've always been blessed with very special, very open people. And that was just a really beautiful group of human beings that I got to really, dive into the deep end with, and some of them I'd known for some time and some of them I didn't know at all. And everyone just kind of like, that I felt very held up. Awoye was a really fantastic leader. And the cast was really, we're all still on a text chain. You know what I mean? This particular cast, we still text each other because it was really a special time. There was a lot of tears. You know what I mean? There's a lot of love during that time. And doing that play, I've always done it in the summer. So it was also like, ooh, doing this play in the winter in the cold, it was just like, ooh, feelings all the time. I feel like I'm like, oh, I didn't, remembering like walking and like snowstorming and coming to do this play and then walking out and being like, I need a hot toddy, like I need a drink. And just, I don't know, every time I had done the play, I just kind of got deeper and deeper and deeper into it. And so I think that cast just kind of caught me, at a really deep time of introspection. So yeah, I miss the gathering. I miss the ritual of going somewhere with people who were at one time strangers, who are now family, and then getting to share this thing with audience members who are also strangers. But after, they see a production and if they like it, you'll run into some people on the street being like, good grief. You know what I mean?
Wonderful.
And they feel as deeply about it as you feel about it. And that's something that's really special.
I mean, I feel like for everyone listening and hanging out with us right now, like I literally cannot say enough how special it is that you wrote this piece and the Vineyard Theatre kind of welcomed it into their doors and you were able to be in it as well. Just writing and starring in your own piece as a Black female in the American theater is just, it's such a rare and special thing and so beautiful at it. And so I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about, like, when did it hit you and did it ever become difficult juggling all those things, or was it a natural thing? Just what was your feeling about it? Because it's just amazing. And I think there's more and more young Black women that are interested in having more control over their own narrative processes. And it's like, you are one of our greats that actually has shown the world, look, it's possible actually. So just more about it.
I mean, it's interesting. I'm very inspired by those people, but what's interesting is that I did not originally write this with the intention to do it. Which is also why I think it's so personal to do, because I wrote something very personal with the intention for my best friend, Susan Hayward, shout out to Susan Hayward, to do the play. And so when we had done it, when we had done it for INTAR, the first reading I had not done. The second reading I did not do. All readings throughout grad school, I did not touch that play. My classmates did it. Even when we workshopped the play, I did not touch the play. And my best friend, Susan, I was like, you should do this. We grew up the same. You'd be great. And so she had done the first public reading of the play. And then by the time we had produced it, she had booked 2 TV shows. Fierce actress. And so she actually helped me assistant directed it along with Russell G. Jones.
Shout out to Jones. We love you.
Yeah, and even a friend of mine, Larissa, who had done one of the first readings, we went to grad school together, was like, this is yours, right? This is your play, like, you're doing it, right? And I was like, oh, I mean, I could, but no, I don't think so. And then when I had done a little reading of it, I was like, oh yeah, this is mine. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh shit. Okay, I've been scared. Okay, it is mine. And so I don't know if I remember the question.
I'm so curious. I mean, just hearing about your process on this road. I didn't know that you didn't make it originally for yourself. You know?
I didn't. It was about myself, but the idea was for like my friend to play me.
To do it.
Which is why I kind of dug so deep, because I was like, I don't have to do it. Right? Like, I don't have to do it. So I can go as deep as I like. And then I could like, set it and forget it. And then I had done the workshop, like, production, or the workshop self-producing, and then I couldn't let it go.
Yeah.
And then when CTG had done the premiere, they were so, a lot of times if it's not a one-person show, you know how this goes. If a writer wants to do their thing, they're kind of, producing houses can be kind of hesitant about it.
Extremely hesitant.
Extremely,
I say very averse, very, very averse to it, especially if you're a POC female daring to take control of your story. I think they're very averse to it, actually. Yeah.
Especially if they don't know you, they don't know your stuff. They're like, and I'm like, but acting is the thing that I do.
Yeah.
That's like, this writing thing is new, but acting is, trust me, when and when CTG had done a reading of it, they were like, oh, and you're doing it, right? Like, there was no,
I love that.
I've actually been quite spoiled, I will say, with that experience, because I was waiting to fight to get to do it when, and then, but by the time the CTG had done it, they were like,
the thing.
It was not even a thing. They're like, oh, and you'll do it, right? Like, you're an actor, you understudied for us, and I was like, oh, yeah, sure. And so it became really easy to go, oh, and I'm doing this. Oh,
I love that. I also love how you're, mentioning CTG, because I think it's interesting. The regionals can be really transformative in your process, especially if you're a POC artist or a BIPOC artist, like getting a chance to work on your work somewhere that's going to say yes to you and then bring it to New York can be incredibly positive. So I love hearing about that. Let's show the second clip, because I'd love to. It's really beautiful. Can we show that to everybody? Thank you.
Hey, you must never leave me, eh?
Where will I go? You've taken my life, you foolish man. Perhaps I will call Leo when you die.
You think I'll leave you with that ragamuffin, that idiot? God forbid. Hey, you are lucky I will never die.
Don't I know it?
It hurts me to hear her in pain. Okay. Let her cry. But the man should be the spoon. It's true. My sweetie, my sugar, my baby, my lover. So let me hold you, let me love you.
I love that. Will you tell us a little bit about this moment we all just watched? Just set that up for us, what we just saw. It's a very sweet moment to me in the play.
Wait, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me or no?
No.
Okay.
Okay. And we're just here, live, waiting. Will she come back? We'll see. Technology, guys.
Okay, I'm back. Can you hear me now?
Got you. I filled in for you. I vamped. It was
okay. I bet you were fierce at vamping. Guys, welcome to the modern era with modern computers. Anyways, I was just saying, will you set that moment up one more time, or for the first time for us? Tell us what we just saw. It's such a beautiful little scene.
Sure. That's the moment in the play where Nkechi has just kind of wept over her mother and finally kind of gotten it out. gotten sort of her grief out and let it out in the form of sort of like crying, and she now can't stop weeping. She's weeping throughout the house. And so the parents, who are very, very Nigerian parents, the father in particular is having a hard time letting her daughter just kind of cry and weep and have it out. And the wife, who is a psychologist or psychiatric nurse, is trying to, you know, calm the father down and go like, let her have her moment, let her weep, let her get it out.
Beautiful. And tell me more about your process with the very brilliant Awoye, because I feel like my favorite part of the process sometimes is like that first day of tech, when you get in and you can smell it and you can feel it and you're in the theater and you're in the costumes. And what was that like, that moment when, you know, she made so much of it real for you in New York? Yeah.
I mean, me and Awoye have a relationship because we had worked on Homecoming Queen earlier that year. But we've known each other for like, now like kind of off and on for about 10 years, actually, almost. And, you know, we're both first generations. And so when Homecoming Queen looked like it was about to get made, we kind of started dating like heavily in the artistic realm, right? I was like, hey, direct this workshop. Hey, direct this reading. Hey, hang out a little bit. And she had worked a little bit with us on Now Africa.
Yeah.
Eat and Funny So, Chi and Aaron Cherry have. And so, you know, we've been away to each other for a while. And so we had a real shorthand because of Homecoming Queen. And even though I had worked previously with Patricia McGregor on it, we weren't able to work together on the New York production because time and last minute and what have you. And so I was like, well, I know Awoye. And even though she's, it's interesting, the play is so emotional, right? So I was used to sort of the experience of like a Patricia who's kind of like a doula, right? She's like beautiful and firm, but soft and emotional, you know. And Awoye is a little bit more methodical, you know. Awoye's and she's, you know, she's incredibly even keeled. So I think that that's also why we worked together, because she kind of took my emotional part and she was like, okay, what's up? What's happening? What's wrong?
She's amazing. She's so just smart and like grounded. It's amazing.
Yeah. I will say, I think we turned her into a bit of a teddy bear. You know, she was coming back during the run and being like, all right, I missed you guys. I'm like, I'm sorry, what's that? What's that, Awoye? You missed us? You love us? You have feelings, I know it. And so she's someone who really has a beautiful temperament for everyone to really just kind of be themselves. But also for us to dig deep, and like, she just has intense rigor, you know, when you think you really have it and you've got the flow down, she'll be like, okay, great. Like, I know we're in previews. I need everyone to get together and like redo that ending, you know, and make sure that we're like all on top of each other with lines. Everyone's alert. And she's also, so she's lovely and she's easy, but she's also, she demands rigor. You know? And so she demands that, like, yeah, I know you guys think you have this, but like, how do we keep it so that we are always, you know, really present and fresh for each other and not coasting by any means. And like, you know, not the lazy actor in you, but like the artist who's like, no, I've got it, wants to like rebel against that. But then it's really like, no, let's actually like always like, so we always as a group would meet, like our warm-up would be to do the ending where we're on top of each other on lines. And that was our warm up before we would go on stage together, you know, like 15 minutes forward. So that we always were like in tune and remembering that we are doing this as a group. There's no I.
Yeah.
You know, it's not my play anymore. It's our play. And so she was very much like, oh, she's always in that mind frame, which I appreciate. And it's a great reminder from me.
It's amazing. It's weird. It's like, it is a very technical job that we all do, theater making. It's like, when we're all meeting and woosahing around and like pitching and dreaming about it, it feels like this very, very, very heart forward artistic process. But there is a point at which in every playmaking process that it just literally becomes a technical thing and a physical thing. It's funny that you were an athlete, because it's like, I feel that in the work. It's like, you've actually got to learn how to do something and repeat it and then do it again to the best of your ability and not get fatigued and be fresh and be on the line. And it's like, it gets kind of like the NBA. Style in tech, you know? So what stories are you thinking about right now? Also, I just want to remind everyone watching, please type out your questions in the chat and the live comments and stuff, because we'll be taking questions in about 10 minutes or so. But anyways, what stories are you thinking about right now? Or do you have anything on your mind or not, you know?
Sometimes no, you know, these 3 months have been really intense and trying, and You know, I've been sort of in the TV sector for about a year now, actually. So hey, TV, it pays well, but who knows if anything will show up on TV. That's kind of like how TV goes. It's like being commissioned really well, right? It's like a theater will commission you. Maybe they'll do that play, maybe they won't. But in TV, it's really like maybe they won't. But here's a lot of money. How anything gets made, I don't know. Happy for the paycheck though. Shout out to TV. Yeah, it's interesting trying to get back in the theatrical space, which is where I was trying to be right before we sort of all got quarantined. I was like about to workshop a play somewhere, and in the and I'm working on a new play, and then it got shut down. And so, I've been asking myself those same existential questions of like, well, what does it mean to make anything, and what does it mean to gather, and what are these Zoom plays? Because I've been doing a few of those, like I've done some micro commissions, and I've done some like 24-hour plays where I'll write a monologue here, or I've done some performance things where I'll read someone's monologue for like Homebound. So I've done like Homebound and 24-hour project, and I've done the micro commission. So I've done all those things, and some of them are really fulfilling, and some of them are like, okay, that was done. And
I did just make you miss theater so much more.
So much, because you're like, that was great, but then it's okay, like, all right, like maybe someone saw it, maybe no one saw it. So it's been so now I took one of those 24-hour plays, and now I'm working on like my first monologue play, like one play that just kind of goes and goes. I've written a play for 24-hour plays that was like they paired you with like a random actor. So they paired me as a writer with Pedro Pascal, who's like a G. And then that was like lovely and inspiring. And I was like, oh, I think I might turn that little 6-minute thing into like that 2-page thing into like a 25-page thing. So now I'm like 25 pages into making that. I have a commission at a theater that, that me and another director are in talks to be like, what do we want to make together? So I think for me, it is definitely, I'm coming more from the space of making maybe monologue plays or two-handers. Not because of just the nimbleness of like, obviously like people might be broken, might be able not be able to do 1 or 2-hander plays, but because it's more like, how can I work in a space where I'm literally making that thing for that actor or that artist, right? Because I've written for myself. I'm like, what is it? Actors can feel really powerless. Actors come into a space and they're basically working for that playwright's work. And like they get say, but for the most part, in the process of the American theater, it is like, thanks for that comment, actor. I know what I want to write, which is fine. But that's kind of the process. While, what would it be like to make a show, do a first draft, and then really have the director and that actor in conversation so that we're really building the play for the way that actor really breathes and moves. You know what I mean? And so I'm in the beginning of talks with I'm not talks with actors, but just in the beginning of like writing a 2-hander and making a draft and then focusing on whoever we cast and then really kind of making it for their breath,
I love that. It certainly does the pause that we're in. I feel that it certainly makes you want to just return to collaboration.
Yeah.
Who are you making it with? Like, and how can you make it to the best of your ability for them? That's so inspiring. And if you could say like what do you not miss the most, but whenever we do find our new sense of normal, because I do think it'll be new, it won't be the same, but whenever we find it, like, what are you most looking forward to getting back to? Like, what's the theatrical sensation that you're like the most hungry for right now?
I mean, really, it's the gathering. It's the ritual of let's go in like neck first, like deep first, right? It's the idea that these strangers or people that you'll start this play, and this play that is a stranger will now become a part of your DNA. And I'm excited for that again, to get into work deeply, either as an actor or as a writer, and with other people who are really like, who need to do this, and then sharing it with people who need to see it. Because I do feel like there'll be a need now.
Yeah.
There'll be a need to walk in. There'll be a need to put this thing on stage. And not to say that wasn't before, but there'll be more now. And so I'm looking forward to collaborating with the people who need to be here.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's so beautiful. How do you feel if we take some questions? I think it might be good. You're so amazing. Like,
you're amazing.
This woman wrote her own stuff, started it. She's breaking so many. I mean, without your work, I don't think it would be possible for someone like me to be doing what I'm trying to do. So it's just been really great to just kiki with you a little bit. All right. From YouTube, I hope I don't say anyone's name wrong. Apologize if I do. First question, YouTube. Morgan Janice, I believe.
Morgan Janice.
Janice, yay, wants to know, did you work with Naomi Izuka at UCSD?
So Naomi is the head of the playwriting program there. And I only work with Naomi in the capacity of, as actors, you take the playwriting, they have the actors sit in and we'll read the new plays. And then also at the end of your first year, you'll do a new play by a new playwright, and Naomi kind of heads that. Mm-hmm. So I've worked with Naomi in the form of listening and paying attention, how she kind of talks to the playwrights about their plays. But we've never worked sort of hand in hand.
So thank you. Next one from Claire Graves from the YouTubes. Claire says, hi, both. You're exquisite artists. Okay. What are you most proud of? What are you most proud of from Claire?
I think I'm not going to take credit for things, but
take a little bit of credit.
I remember the year or 2 years before, while I was writing and whatever and self-producing, there was a year of performer actors doing things in New York that I was just seeing and getting inspired by. And I don't mean one-person shows, because for whatever reason, it is really easy for people to digest someone doing their own one-person show.
It's crazy as hell to me. I'm just okay, wait, so why is it easier to digest one person on stage talking to you for an hour, 2 hours, but someone who's conceived this really amazing thing? I mean, Hamilton, of course, broke through some barriers of that, but especially for Black females, why is it so hard for you?
It's so hard, right? It's so hard. But at that time I had seen I think John Cameron Mitchell had jumped back into Hedwig. I had seen something that Lin was working, Lin-Manuel Miranda, and I can't remember. There are two other artists who were doing plays, multiple character works, and starring in them, right? And so I think I'm most proud of the idea that after Good Grief, I felt and not to say that people were not doing this before, but I do feel there's a slew of Black girls and other playwright, not just, but Black people who are I'm going to write this and star in it. What? And not budge on it. And maybe they'll get produced, maybe they won't. But I feel I'm very proud of people having the confidence to do that. I'm very proud of, there is a thing of Black playwrights wanting to have other Black directors direct their work.
That's a huge and advocate for that behind the scenes, and it's really important. I think everybody should have the right to dip their toes in some stories, but it's exciting to finally see Black narratives in the hands of other Black artists. Yeah.
Right. And I feel proud that I feel the success of Homecoming Queen, I think makes that more, and because we were seen as, even though we've been doing it for a while, me and Warrior were seen as new artists. You know what I mean? And it was a successful production. So I'm super proud of the movement that is the FUBU movement, as you were, that I think that brought about. I think it was already happening, but I think it definitely made it easier for people to digest, bringing on two, new artists of color Black artists who want to, create their own work and be on a main stage.
Yeah, it's great. From Miriam Weiner, I'm sorry if I messed that up. Hi, Ngozi, wondering if you could tell us a bit about how you handle rewrites during rehearsal when you're also in the play, girl. How do you do that?
One day at a time, I remember I was workshopping Homecoming Queen as an actor and doing it. And that was harder. One of the reasons why I didn't do it in New York is because that play was so new that if I had a giant idea, rehearsal's canceled. because I got to go do rewrites now. But for good grief, it's a play that I really had a hold of by the time we got to the New York production. And Patricia and Owoye were both very good at take off your actor hat, put on your playwright hat. I need to ask you a question.
Yeah.
You know? And sometimes, actor, playwright ego would meld. And I'd be like, whenever someone asks a question, I'd be like, well, too bad we're not rewriting that scene. Helpful. Not super helpful. Had a little outburst one.
We all are.
We're human beings. What are you gonna do? But for the most part, remember during Good Grief, there's like a sort of a sex scene that's kind of like this sort of like, complicated thing between two young people and consent and things like that. And it's a completely different version in LA. And we were kind of like post Me Too, and I was feeling funky about doing this scene. I'm like, it was funny, but it feels not responsible around the conversation of consent, or not clear. So if it's not clear, it doesn't feel responsible. And so it was aching at me. And so like we handled a rewrite by like me and Ian were just improvising throughout we actually did like 3 or 4 improvs. Owoye and the stage manager recorded the improvs. Mm-hmm. And then I went back that night and did rewrites.
Yeah.
And then, which is the scene that ended up in the New York version. So sometimes if something's really aching at me, but an actor will bring something up and I'll be like, oh, you're right, that doesn't make sense. And sometimes I'll rebel and I'll go, you don't know anything. And then I'll have to go, let me look at that by myself though. Okay, you're right.
You don't know anything.
You know nothing. And then
like a sign I can hold up or something.
Yeah, and then I'll have to go back and go, oh, okay, you were right. Yeah, that's true. So, Owoye was really great about like break, playwright. I have a question. We can get back to it. And some stuff we just never got back to because of time and moving through. Some stuff I'm still like, we didn't figure that out, but
gotta move on.
Yeah.
I actually love that about theater. Like my favorite thing, I totally ripped it off from a mentor of mine from school, but it's like, go before you're ready. And it's like, just the time you have is the time you need sometimes. I love that, but I'm a kind of adrenaline maniac. Okay, this one from Aradine Knox. Do you have any practices? It's coming from the YouTubes. Do you have any practices to ground yourself and keep yourself well when you're doing a show that is this intense?
So during that process, literally it was go for a manicure, pedicure once a week. Mm-hmm. I took the ladies of the show out for that. I'd go for a massage once a week. I got a very expensive gym membership when I was doing Good Grief because I was like, I did not prepare myself when I did it in LA. But I also lived on the beach when I was doing it in LA and I was going running every day. And so I unintentionally had self-care every day. Yeah. I just realized it. And I was like, why am I so depressed rehearsing this play in New York? And I'm like, oh, because New York is cold. It's depressing. And you're doing a play about your best friend's death. Right. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, great. Let's get that Equinox membership. Let's be in the steam room, in the jacuzzi. Okay. I also, I'm very mindful of who I surround myself with when I'm working on work, so I'm also like, I was with a really lovely cast of people and then I would just go home and I would sleep. And it still took me a while to recover after doing that show. I was going to take myself to Europe, but it's, that particular play is not easy to do. Because of what it tackles. And, it took me actually a while to recover from that. It was a lot of gymming and sleeping and crying. Cause it's also like when the show closes, it's like I felt like I lost my friend all over again.
Closing is what's painful. I don't feel like closing. It's painful. It's really painful.
And shows closing are painful. It's a painful process when a show closes, and it's a painful process when a show opens and you're not in it. Because I remember Homecoming Queen, I was having such a hard time during opening, and I was like, why am I? And I'm like, oh, because it's not mine anymore.
Yeah, because you're not on stage, and for better or worse, and why I always envy actors is just like the catharsis that you can like experience on stage is really real. Like you say the words and then it comes out and you can release it. But when you're like, especially when I'm directing, I'm like festering over there, like,
right, I'm sure.
It's like Professor X, like just stressed, so I feel that. Okay, from Lauren Miller, it sounds like you both already have worked with a bunch of dreamy collaborators, but I'd love to hear who you're dreaming of working with next. This is Lauren Miller from the YouTubes.
I pay very close attention to people. I'm dreaming of working with Whitney, so there's that. We have not yet had any collabos, but I'm sure that's gonna happen.
Right.
Who else? Candace Jones.
Mm-hmm.
She's workshopped a couple of things. I'm excited to get into a laboratory with her. I've worked as an actor with some people that I'm like I did a very early reading with Stevie Walker-Webb of Ain't No Mo. And so I was like, I'm very, I love Jordan's work as an actor, and I like how Stevie approached the sort of like short, intense reading process we did. They're just people I'm just like curious about. I'm curious about Steve Broadnax. I like him, and I like his work. I like the room. I feel like I like the rooms that he creates. Like you can see a cast and see a show and be like, oh, I'm jealous because they look like they were having a great time.
Yeah. I'm thinking of that more and more, like process. How can we get to a place where process is as important as product? Oh my God, I sound like such a theater geek today.
You are, and that's okay.
Gosh, but it's real. It's really real. And also all the artists you just mentioned are the same for me. It's like we are living in really complicated, painful times, but it's like, I feel like right before COVID hit us all, it was so exciting to be a part of the Black theater scene in New York. It was just like every day I was amazed more and more by everyone's work. Yours, Stevie's, Jordan, Alicia Harris, like Jeremy Harris, just so many people, Michael R. Jackson. And it was
Charlie Evans Simpson.
Oh my God, she's such a beautiful writer.
Oh, I love to act in her plays. You know what I mean? Like there's just so many exciting. Obehi, I had seen someone had passed a play of hers that I was like, this is really fucking cool. And so, Stacey Rose, I'm just excited. I just want to see her plays. I want to see her. I want to produce one of her plays. Like, I just want to make sure that she gets on stage, Yeah.
I got to do a director reading of hers, and Stacey Rose just is just ferociously original, I think, and really wonderful. And Zora also, her new show, Stu. So it was like, this moment was starting to happen before all this, where I felt so honored to be alive, because every single day I could interact with a different Black writer or director, or someone that I loved. And it's a little painful to be in this pause, especially with all of the things our community is going through when we were on the brink of this moment.
Yeah.
Felt like in some ways. From Claire Graves from YouTube, what is giving you joy these days? Just joy. What's giving you joy when it's hard to come by?
Cookies.
Ooh.
Making pasta. I will say there is some writing that actually is happening as of late. I'm actually feeling depressed and artistically fertile when I am in that space. So, writing has actually given me some solace. I'm discovering a lot of fun music. I'm like on a Ben Platt kick at the moment.
You know how I feel about music. I think music is the answer.
Yeah, so I'm listening to a lot of music. I'm listening to some Childish Gambino, some Jill Scott, some musical theater that I'm just, so, a lot of things that I don't do, like music and food and whatever. I'm sort of getting into that, and that's bringing me some real joy. And then phone calls with friends and just talking shit and talking shop till like the wee hours of the morning is also like lifting me.
This is beautiful. Okay, another one from Morgan from YouTube. Morgan asks, this pause and deep reassessment of who we are as a country and society, what do you both hope might change when we hopefully return to the theater? What can we let go in our expectations, assumptions, and what would you both like to see shift? What else might happen in this incubation period to birth something new? It's a really good question.
It's interesting, the difference between the moment that we've always been in and the moment that now everyone recognizes that we're in.
Correct, which is like something that I wish I could highlight, for everyone that is curious about this and asking me something like this. It's like, this is not these are not new issues. They're coming to light for a large group of portion of the population for the first time, and the rest of us have been living in these realities. Keep going.
Yeah. So, but the thing that I think I was talking about this yesterday, was the thing that is happening right now, and is, why are we here? Is it important? Why are we doing this? And I hope that we walk into the space, in the rehearsal space, like that, right? Why are we all here? Why did we all decide to say yes? How can we make this space sacred and holy, and then spread that sacredness to other people? And that is as important with a very deep play as it is with a Jerry Mitchell musical, right? And it's like the idea that we're making something that is meant to share and bring people joy, thought, healing, catharsis, whatever, and to take our vocations seriously, and that your vocation is to illuminate what was once invisible, right? I had a teacher who used to say, the job of theater is to make the invisible visible.
Oh, yeah.
And and to never forget that part of what it is that we are trying to do, and to let our egos go, right? Our egos help us get in the room. Our egos, make people interested in us, think that, our plays are pretty or whatever. But it's like, I hope that we truly enter into the space in a more collaborative manner. The way that the American theater system has been working, right, is that the playwright is whatever, unless the director's more famous, right? Unless the actor's more famous. In the commercial theater, the way it's been working is the producer tells you how to make your play whatever, so that you can go ahead and make shitloads of money, right? Or no fucking money, because it's the American theater. Excuse my French. But
a little French, everybody. It's okay.
Right? But I hope that the producer is aware, the producer and the institution are aware that they are collaborators. They're not bosses. They're collaborators. They're facilitators, so that we can do this thing. The playwright is the conduit, but again, the playwright is the collaborator. The playwright cannot do a play without the actors. Otherwise, it's just a fucking book, right? The director is not God. The director is the facilitator and the conduit to do this thing, to share with an audience. The audience is not the boss, right? You walk into a space and you are accomplices, and you are hoping to get this thing, and you have to receive what is given to you. It is not owed to you, right? And you have to engage in this space as much as those actors, as much as that playwright, that we are collaborators in this thing that we are trying to share with each other, and answer whatever question that playwright sparked the answer to, right? That the playwright sparked the answer, but the writer, director, producer, marketer, you know what I mean? Designer, those people lit the candle, lit the fire, stoked the furnace, and then the audience gets to sit around that fire, right? Those lights, that whatever. Sorry, there's some freaking lawn mowing going on around here.
Okay.
And they really get to share with the audience that we're accomplices. And I hope that is the change. I hope that everyone's leaning forward into their vocation, and that there are no bosses. There are no bosses. And I hope that is something that is torn down, especially.
I love that. I think on my end, I won't add much more because that was beautiful. But, I'm thinking a lot about who has the power to make what stories, where, why, how. I'm thinking about, even though I was just talking about being a part of this really beautiful Black theatrical community, the reality that we have basically no Black producers on Broadway, no Black artists who have the keys to those houses on Broadway. And it's like, it's part of the reason why you inspire me. You took means into your own hands, and you took control over your own story and narrative. And I'm just curious about how we could do that more ways. I'm also thinking a lot about who we do theater for. I'm not a native New Yorker. I'm from Chicago. I've been spending during COVID more time with my family than I have in such a long time. And it's just making me wonder, what does that mean to go away and do theater somewhere else when the people who maybe are your closest community might not have access to it? And I'm thinking a lot about accessibility with diverse audiences, and how I hope we can all work towards that. Okay, one more. We're almost at time, but This is from Benjamin F. I'm just going to ask the second half of it because we kind of talked about the first half, but do you have any tips to other first-time writers?
I will say, look at all the opportunities of turning things in. I have a really strong constitution for rejection. So that's just like, that's the other part. It's like I as an actor, because I've auditioned so much, I'm very good at being rejected. It's like, put it out into the world, move on. Put it out into the world, move on. So that's one. Two, if you have friends, do the play.
That is what I would say. That's like,
do the play. That's, I mean, if there's anything that this time is teaching us, is that right now there is no theater, technically. Yeah. And so we're all on equal playing ground. It doesn't matter if you have a Pulitzer or whatever, build your community now. The first thing I did was take work and make plays and make it with friends and invite people and spread the word. And now I'm in an institution, so my next goal is figuring out how to make sure that community always feels welcome in these institutions. Because before I couldn't get those artists paid the way that I was producing my theater, right?
Yeah.
And American theater still has an issue with that as well. But make the thing, share it with the friends, and then share it with everybody else. And that audience member, your mom is as worthy as an audience member as the fancy critic who is seeing it. That's the thing that's also getting me back to that. I'm like, well, maybe I go back to self-producing. I don't know how to do that. We got some TV money now, we'll see. But all I got to do is now make things, share things, tell people on the internet that you're doing, do some Zoom readings, do a live thing on Instagram. Like, the world is kind of your oyster. Gathering means something different right now. So make it, gather some friends, share it. Don't worry about how many people see it. If one person sees it, it'll spread. Just do it.
It's beautiful. And you kind of touched on Irving Torres's question. Irving Torres has a question for both of us about what our own work excites. What about your own work excites you? And I think it's this thing that Ngozi just brought up. It's like, I feel so privileged to work with so many brilliant playwrights that have their own stories. But what I love about working on my own work is being able to just interact with the community that I'm excited about. And same thing, like our first couple shows, my band and I'd be like, hey, can you guys come do the show? I've got $50 for you each. Do you mind? And it's like, even though that was a more challenging financial time, it was very artistically fulfilling because we had control over what we wanted to make. And we were making it for the people we wanted to make it for. So that is very exciting. Okay, well, that is kind of our time. Thank you for the questions, everybody out there. And then, Ngozi, you're such a fierce human, and I'm so thankful I got to hang out with you for a bit.
Love you.
Doug and Sarah are going to come say goodbye to the audience. Thanks for having us. See you guys soon.
Wow. Thank you, Whitney and Ngozi. That was a really wonderful and insightful and moving conversation. And to paraphrase just something Ngozi said, we miss the gathering and the ritual too. We really do, the magic of that experience. And we miss working with both of you in the room too. So we hope that'll happen soon again.
And we hope you'll all come back and join us next week. The playwright and poet Cornelius Eady will be with us, along with the actor Joe Morton. We're going to revisit Cornelius's play Brutal Imagination, which the Vineyard premiered in 2002, and which remains a potent examination of racial injustice in our country. So we hope you'll come back for that conversation. Till then, be well and stay safe.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to The VT Show, brought to you live every Tuesday at 5 p.m. If you would like to view previous episodes, you can find them on Facebook and YouTube. See you next week.